Well, hi, everybody. Welcome to the press conference. Thank you for joining us. I'm Jim Patterson, member of the California Legislature from Central California, Fresno. Here's why we are here together. When Governor Newsom announced that he was reclosing, there was a lot of confusion. And that confusion had to do with who can be open outside. And it particularly was confusing and hurt barbers and salons and the bureaucracy that oversees the salons. Basically said there was a rule that you cannot go outside. The governor needs to clarify quickly that outside means outside for those who do the work that they do, barbers and these salons, in order to go outside. The Newsom's order created a lot of conflict and uncertainty. We have taken a hard look at what can be done. And so what we are doing is we're going to ask the governor through a direct letter and a direct appeal on behalf of these individuals to do for the spas and the barbershops what he did for those in restaurants that were going outside. Alcohol, beverage, and control waived all kinds of regulations in order to make the outside dining and the patio dining work. And this is what we need now. There is a really big problem here with these salons and barber operations. They have put thousands of dollars into their shops. They open and then they close, and look at the difficulty and the uncertainty that is created. Many of these individuals had to go on unemployment, and many of them in this sector of our economy still have not been able to receive their unemployment benefits. So this has been really a catastrophe for salons and for barbershops. We think that there is a direct line from the problem to the solution, and we think that is to simply ask the governor to clarify this, that outdoors for these salons and for these barber operations means outdoors. You can go out there, and he's going to have to instruct the bureaucracy to waive the particular section of the regulation that forbids it. We are hoping that this will be done soon. Many others throughout the state of California in leadership positions and mayors of cities and others who have concern are rooting for the governor to realize what has happened and to remedy it, and remedy it quickly. If we don't get this remedy, these salons and these barbers and these individuals are going to be further thrown into this really dark hole of not being able to open, not being able to pay their bills, having no recourse at all. And so that's what we're here today to try and achieve. Simply put, the governor was unclear. His message and his confusion has created real difficulty for these operators, unfairly so, sort of singled out. Everybody can go outside and function, but you can't. The impact on these individuals has been really cruel, and we need to lift this burden from them, give them the option to go outside if they so choose. Thank you, everybody, for covering this. We really appreciate it. There are hearts and lives getting broken here, and there are individuals who have put all their life savings and all their dreams into the operations of their shops, only to be told, you can't go outside, you can't operate in a way that others operate, and it is arbitrary and unfair, and the regulation and the bureaucracy is getting in the way of this, and the governor needs to lift these kinds of bureaucratic hurdles the way he has lifted them for restaurants through the alcohol beverage control, all of the kinds of things where he has said, no, you can open if you want to. That's what we're trying to do. And we have representatives from the operations of these shops. We'll get to them in a second. Fred Jones is with us for the Professional Beauty Federation of California, who represents all of these individuals, and he's going to have a quick statement. We'll also be available for questions. Fred?
Thank you, Assemblymember Patterson. Am I coming through okay?
Yes.
Good. And if I could get my screen up, Ian, I will just start. I think you're being probably too kind to the governor. You serve in the co-equal branch of government with Governor Newsom. I don't, so I can be a little bit more candid. We believe that the governor's senior staff and only a few senior folks within the Department of Public Health are micromanaging the entire state economy. I don't even think they're dealing much with their various administrative agencies. And they're probably hearing the news right along with the rest of us in the industry. And so what happened Monday is the governor announced a resumption of lockdowns of several industries, and then continuously and then multiple times clarified that if they are able to move their services outside, that would be permitted. So we saw a glimmer of hope, even though the resumption of the lockdown was a real shot in the gut for all of us. Keep in mind, this is a huge industry. We have 623,000 individuals licensed by our California State Board of Barbering and Cosmetology, and over 53,000 licensed salons and barbershops and day spas. It's a huge industry. Some of these folks have gone 3 up to 4 months without any income from their businesses, without the ability to pay for their rent, to pay for their employees, to pay for their own personal expenses. So it's been brutal. And some of these folks have only recently been allowed to reopen. Am I coming through okay? I'm just making sure. Okay, good. In fact, we have some on the line that were only allowed to reopen their salon the same day the governor asked them to close again. And yet all of these salon and barber shops have invested considerable resources and infrastructure preparing protocols, plexiglass, separating the service provider from the client, obviously PPE, personal protective equipment, both for our licensed as well as our clients. And now we're faced with another shutdown. And then after the governor's announcement, the State Board of Barbering and Cosmetology came out with a clarification that they believe that their laws require them not to allow our licensed professionals to work immediately adjacent to and outside their own salons, much like the governor authorized for restaurants and other industries, as did the ABC department, as Assemblymember Patterson just clarified. Just yesterday, the CDC came out with a report regarding the effectiveness of our masks and our health and safety protocols in salons. There were 2 Great Clips salons in the Midwest that had 2 of their stylists that were COVID positive. They didn't know it. And they exposed 139 clients and another dozen fellow stylists throughout their positive case. CDC came in and tracked it and found not a single spread of COVID from those 2. And they credited it to the safety protocols that those 2 salons had implemented. So we know how to keep our clients safe. Our trained professionals receive hundreds of hours in health and safety. We know how to deal with pandemics. Thank you, Assemblymember Patterson, for leading and defending and advocating for our folks.
Jesse.
Hi there. Thank you so much for having me. My name is Jessica Santiago, and I own a hair salon called Benders. It's in Long Beach, and we primarily focus on the LGBT community. Before we closed for COVID, we also doubled as a community center, and most of our folks that get their haircut at our space lost their community as well as a place to get their haircut. We've been closed for almost 4 months. We opened it back up 3 weeks ago, and throughout this process, we've lost about almost $18,000. I've been doing hair for almost 20 years, and I've never seen anything like this before. I've only been a salon owner for 2 years, and I feel like I haven't been able to see the success of my salon even flourish at all because of this pandemic. And I think it's unfair that we don't get to modify and innovate like other industries do. If you're going to allow people to walk around with alcohol on the streets, I don't think a haircut is going to hurt anyone. And we, as professionals, like Fred said, we are trained for many hundreds of hours to keep our clients and ourselves safe. And I think that most of us have gone through a lot of new protocols to do that even further. And I just feel like, especially if we're outside and we have the ability to go outside and cut hair, we should be able to do that. We should be able to create space for other people. I have so much space in my backyard. In fact, I have the ability to open up my space for other hair salons in my community, other stylists that don't even work at my space. Rent them maybe a little space, or even they can just come to make money. This is huge for us. We are not able to pay our bills. We're not able to pay our personal bills, to pay our employees and keep them. We're not able to live. And if we have the ability to do so, I feel that we should be granted that ability.
Here's Christina.
Hi, sorry about that. My name is Christina, and I'm the owner of Salon Touche in Redondo Beach in the Riviera Village. I've owned my salon for roughly 18 years, and I've been a hairdresser for 30. And I've never seen anything like this. When we got notice of the first shutdown, it was upsetting. It was confusing, and it's like, okay, we're going to kind of wait this out. And we were allowed to reopen about 3-4 weeks ago. And then we were, notified again to shut down once again. And that was devastating. That was devastating for me as a salon owner. It was devastating to my stylist. And I think what a lot of people don't realize is that we are highly trained in sanitation, and that is a big part of our licensing. And with the new COVID guidelines, we have upped the ante big time on sanitation. And in that first shutdown time, when we got word that we could possibly be reopening, I spent hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of dollars personally getting my salon cleaned, getting it ready, getting my stations spaced out, notifying my girls about a change in schedule because of the size of my salon and how many stylists I have. Nobody now is full-time. We can't be full-time. We have to be part-time, and we have to work with each other's schedules to maintain that there are enough people in the salon that are in the guidelines of how many we can have with the social distancing and everything else. It's been devastating. So not only are we now have gone from full-time to part-time, we've also we can't double book our appointments, which means we're unable to do 2 clients at once. So that has been an additional hit on our income as well. Not only me personally as a salon owner, not only do I have a high overhead at the salon, insurance. I still have to pay my rent, my utilities to keep everything up and going. I also have what I have at home. I have my mortgage. I have a son in college. I have overhead at home too. So it's been devastating. It's been devastating. And my whole life has been about my business and keeping it up and keeping it clean and keeping it up to the proper protocol for the state. I fortunately have a large patio, as Jesse does as well. I am very capable of moving my entire salon outside. It's not a problem. I too have spoke with a couple girls that are unable to work outside at their salons, that they can come over to me and they can rent just like a little space, you know, from us, just to keep some kind of income coming in. We need to be heard, and we need to have people understand that it's cleaner and it's safer to come in to get a haircut than it actually is to go to the grocery store. I know that people need to get groceries and not everybody needs to get a haircut, but we are, like, as all salon owners know, before a client even steps into our building, we have to take their temperature. When we take their temperature, they have a mask on, we have a mask on, and they are outside. They're not even inside. So before they even come in, they have to meet protocol. And we do keep ledgers of that. So if there is, let's say, somebody found out that they got infected, they notify us, and we have, the paperwork to notify everybody that's been in the salon. So I would just like for the governor to understand, I would like just for people to understand that we are trained and we are skilled in sanitation, and that we will practice and will continue to practice even with the COVID, with the new protocol, to keep our clients safe. That's very important to us, to keep our clients safe and ourselves as well.
Next is Rosie. Can we get Rosie yet?
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. Hello. My name is Rosie Ibarra, and I am the owner of Social Salon Suites in Glendale, California. I've had the salon now, opened the salon from the ground up a little over 6 years now. Prior to that, I've been a hairdresser for over 23 years and have been a salon owner for over 15 years. I just recently opened up 2 salons, one within my own suite and one in another suites company, to get back into doing hair, to help recover some of the wages and loss of money due to the closures. We've been closed since March 20th. And it was scary. It was very scary. We didn't understand what was happening, but we were compliant. We were all very hopeful that we were going to get back to work as quickly as possible, knowing that we had enough information and knowledge and practice in sanitation. Me personally, I have 3 children in grade school, so I've also had to become a homeschool mom, and this has been absolutely challenging and understandable with understanding all of my tenants. So my salon, it's a suites company, and I have 19 lessees that I rent out suites to for the beauty professionals. Every single one of them have been challenged in so many different ways. During the closure, I had lost 5 tenants. I had gone down to about 60% occupancy. I still have to pay a very exorbitant amount of rent to my landlord and all of the expenses that go with it. As soon as we were able to get opened, I had a feeling that we weren't going to get any preparation because we hadn't heard anything from the state board up until the point that we were threatened of our licenses should they find that we were defying orders. I simply did my homework. I just studied what other states were doing. I called around other salons to find out how they prepared when they opened, because we weren't getting any information at all. So I purchased, with the only money that I received, which was $1,000 from the disaster relief from SBA, and purchased equipment, not knowing what to buy. As soon as we were allowed to open, when the governor had announced it, that we could open on May 31st, I had some equipment. And I was going to use that equipment to give to my tenants so that they at least had something to work with to get the ball rolling until they can finally get whatever it was that we needed from the guidelines, which we had not received until after we were announced to open, that we were allowed to open. What can I say? We have been just grinding, right? Equipment, making sure the salon is equipped, removing furniture so that there was less surfaces to clean. I had purchased the thermometers to be right at the front door so that all of my tenants, if they didn't have a thermometer within their space, they were able to comply with the guidelines. We have signs throughout the salon space. Our bathrooms are immaculate. We have a cleaning crew that comes on a daily basis and multiple times a day to make sure that everything is sanitized. Our tenants are more than cooperative and appreciative, but at the same time, I couldn't charge them rent. I could not charge them rent. And I was forced to not charge rent, or even forced to not be able to do any kind of proceedings with the rent moratorium. So now I'm not getting any of that money. That was $120,000 in losses. Okay, how am I going to recoup that? But I did get to qualify for a loan, thankfully, that I still have to pay back, $43,000 in debt on top of my loss. So how am I going to recover? So I go back into my bootstraps and I'm going to do hair again, right? Everyone else is now part of this community of how are we going to recover our losses? And then now we're prepared. We're wearing masks. We're wearing shields. We're buying different shields, trying to test out what's going to work, what doesn't, right? Spending thousands of dollars. And in the end, still being completely overlooked by the professionalism of our industry, and not just from the public. The public has been more than accepting. Who hasn't has been our state officials. Who hasn't been our own state board, who very clearly said in the beginning of every one of their meetings, we don't advocate for you. Go to someone else. Go to the county health department. Really? Where are you? Where have you been for us? So now, I'm sorry. So now, we know that this isn't going anywhere. The pandemic isn't going anywhere. Everyone has been given an opportunity to gear up. And none of the people that are on that list of recent closures have been licensed by the state in sanitation. We are. And there is no reason why we don't get the respect that we deserve and that we work so hard for, to be completely overlooked on being able to have the opportunity to put food on our tables by performing services that we are licensed by the state to do. This is a complete gross oversight of our profession, and it is not tolerable.
Thank you, Rosie. Thank you, Rosie. Just a couple of housekeeping situations. Members of the media, if you want to ask a question, you need to raise your hand button. Right, I think there's a raise your hand button. We'll unmute you. I want to make something really clear here. Number one, Gavin Newsom said you can go outside and operate. The order last Monday was explicit. Indoor, can't do it, you come outdoor. There was at least some expectation by these salon owners that they could recoup some of those damages by, as you've heard, go outdoors. What we ran into was the bureaucracy that oversees these individuals said, nope, you can't do it. Why? Because of section 7317 of the Business and Profession Code, which says you can't do this outside. Why are we asking the governor to intervene on this? Because he has intervened before and waived precise and specific rules for all kinds of other operations. except for these salons. It is a very simple solution here for those who have the space and for those who want to do what they do outside. And that solution is waive this particular code section. There is not a precedent that we're violating here. In fact, the precedent is just the opposite. This governor and other bureaucracies have repeatedly acted unilaterally to waive the very regulations that have gotten in the way of what the governor has said individuals can do. If this was an oversight, we're asking him to fix it. If he's uninformed, we are informing him. And if he is in fact the governor of our state, which he is, pick up the phone, instruct the board that is telling these folks, no, we're going to waive 7317 of the Business and Professional Code. And then thousands of these individuals will be able, if they would like to, and make the choice freely to do what they do outside in a safe environment like everyone else is doing. To close them down this way is arbitrary, it is destructive, and we think that it is pinpointing a particular kind of operation and treating it differently than it is treating all kinds of other operations that can go outside and do the work they do. Governor, please listen to these individuals. You'll receive a letter from me, and it will be signed by these individuals and a lot of others. We are copying the bureaucracy that right now is getting in the way of the freedom of these individuals to choose how they're going to operate outdoors. It is time that you listen to these folks, have sympathy for them and understanding what your confusion has done. Lift the confusion and instruct this board to allow them to open outside. Now we can go to questions. I'm not sure how that. So what do I need?
Okay, Melanie will ask a question.
Okay, Melanie Woodrow, we're going to you. Melanie?
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes.
Terrific. Thank you very much. And thank you to all of the salon owners as well for sharing so candidly what the struggle has been like for you. I appreciate that. I have two questions. The first is, I think, one that a couple of reporters are asking is, would the change, would the request for the change include only haircuts, or would it also include manicures, pedicures? That's the first question. I'll let someone answer that before I go to the second one, if that's okay.
Who wants to answer that? Fred? Let's have Fred. Fred Jones? Hang on, we'll get there. Fred, you're on.
Very well. Can you?
All right.
All right. Can you hear me okay?
Yep.
Okay. Test. Good. All right. Yeah, we're asking the governor to do what he said Monday, which was a blanket statement to the various industries that were placed on lockdown. So it would apply to not only hair, but skin and nail services as well. So we're asking for all of the 53,000 licensed establishments the opportunity to work outside. And I think it's important to note that the same code, Business and Professions Code, that the Assembly member cited, which the state board is using to stop us, does not distinguish establishments. They don't even distinguish between a barber shop and a day spa and a hair salon. So we're asking for all of our salons to have the same treatment. We don't pick winners and losers. We advocate for everybody in our industry. Does that answer your question, Melanie?
It does. Thank you, Fred. And the second part of my question for any of the salon owners or Fred or whoever's best able to answer it is regarding what, if any, health concerns might exist if an outdoor salon, kind of like in a strip mall or a shopping center, is in close proximity to outdoor dining. So for example, I put this up on Twitter this morning, expecting all salon owners would be proponents of this, but was surprised to receive feedback from a salon employee, a stylist, who said she didn't think it was a good idea and she had some concerns, and this was one of them. So how would those concerns be addressed if we start talking about maybe hair coloring or other chemicals if you're in close proximity to a restaurant doing outdoor dining?
Was it Fred?
Yeah, I'll take a crack, but if Rosie or Christina or Jesse have a comment, by all means. Well, first of all, the social distancing protocols will stay in place. So the 6 feet, the separation, et cetera. So even though some salons may have space outside, a patio or something like that to perform their services, they can infringe and butt up against other services from other industries. They have to maintain social distancing. Not all of our services will be able to go outside. We're not going to be doing shampooing and coloring without running water facilities. We're not going to be doing a lot of various skincare procedures without on the outside. So this is primarily going to be simple haircuts, manicuring for sure, pedicures. These things can be done certainly, but not all of our services. So it's not a complete solution, but we're looking to at least provide some relief to our industry.
Let's go to Rosie.
Rosie, others?
Rosie wants to can answer.
I do want to answer to this. So the beauty industry is a very creative industry. This is not the first time, nor will it be the last time that services have been performed outdoors. Think about hair shows. Think about facilities where there isn't an area where you could shampoo. We get creative. I've been to hair shows where you would get gallons of water and pour it down somebody just so that we can rinse out the color for the next show. Many times, I remember when I was in beauty school, we would have a cut-a-thon and do services out on campus under a tent for good cause. There's ways of doing it. Allow the beauty professional to get creative on the best ways that they can perform their services in their new environment, being outside. The fact is that we just need to be allowed the opportunity to go outside without having the possibility of getting an infraction.
I'd like to say something on this. Okay, I want to be clear on this. Not everyone that has salons will choose to go outside. What we're asking of the governor is to allow them the simple privilege of choosing how and when to do it. Obviously, outside in Fresno, California, let's say, for example, the area I represent, it'll be 100 degrees today. This may or may not work. Right now, these establishments do not have the privilege of making a free decision in a free society and being fairly treated. This is about first giving them the opportunity to do what everybody else is doing, going from inside to outside and doing it safely. And so this is about a choice, not a mandate, because the mandate is coming from the bureaucracy. We are saying, sure, yes, maybe, we'll try, let's be given the opportunity. But what the board is saying is, no, it won't happen. You can't do it. That's why the governor has to intervene on this, and it's why the board needs to follow all of the other kinds of waivers that have been given to businesses across the board who can in fact demonstrate a healthy and safe way to go about making a living. That's what we're asking for, and it's as simple as that. Let's go to Rob McMillan next.
Hi, this question is for either Christina, Rosie, or Jesse, although Fred may want to weigh in. And I hate to even go there, but say you don't get an exception, say the governor doesn't make any clarification and leaves it as it is, what is your next option?
I could answer that.
Okay.
Mine personally would be to collect unemployment. There's really, I mean, I'm fortunate enough to have a family business that I could work for if I had to, but that's not what I want to do. So I don't know. I am waited out, collect unemployment, maybe do family at home. I could bring close friends at home just to make, you know, a little bit, you know, off to the side. I know a lot of people are not comfortable with us going to their homes because they're so, you know, freaked out by this, you know, COVID thing. But that would also be challenging as well. There, you know, we're not as easily in a, you know, in a clean environment, you know, so for us and also, you know, for them. So for me, there's really not, I have a couple options, but I just don't want to have to be pushed in that direction. And I really hope that we're not. I hope all of us aren't pushed in that direction. I'd like for us to be heard and understood.
Thank you.
Jesse? Jesse next.
Hi, yes, thank you. I'd like to comment on this because this is something that I feel very passionately about. Well, for me personally, I don't have another option. The only option for me is to close my hair salon down, period, point blank, that's it. I've only been in business for less than 2 years now, and I would have to cut and run because I don't have the equity established like these other two women do. Now, we're not just talking about salon owners here. We're talking about independent contractors and other people who have already been super, super affected by the Uber law. And there are so many hairstylists out there that are out of work that have already been so affected by COVID, by all of these other regulations that they have to abide by. And so many hairstylists are going underground. And this is going to prove to be an even worse situation because we truly cannot. We have no idea what people are doing for sanitation in their home. There's no way that you can regulate that at all whatsoever. And guess what? You can't tax them either. So they're going to put all of that money in their pocket. This is not going to be good for anyone if you do not pass this law, or if you don't give us the opportunity to do our work. We will find a way because just like Rosie said, we are very creative. Hairdressers have been surviving for a very long time. And we want to do this legally and we want to do it right. But if you don't let us, trust me, we'll find a way to make money.
Me. Yeah, we have a question about what board has the jurisdiction. It is the State Board of Barbering and Cosmetology. It is section 7317 of the Business and Profession Code, which says they can't go outside. This is a simple solution. Just merely lift that, allow these individuals some light at the end of the tunnel, allow them to do this outside, on patios, in parking lots. Out the state of California that are communicating with businesses about going outside. Right now, these individuals are one of the few that are excluded from the choices that millions of Californians have about taking their business outside. It is really past time to close this punitive section of the code. I said this earlier. The governor's order was explicit about closing indoors and going outdoors. And anyone that would have seen his press conference would have walked away from that saying, well, let me figure out a way to take my salon outside. And then this State Board of Barbering and Cosmetology say, whoa, wait a minute. Cannot do that. The law says you can't. I'm suggesting that they can do precisely what the alcohol beverage control people did, was to take a look at what they were doing to get people outside and in a safer environment, but at least open up to some degree. And they waived rule after rule after rule. My point is, if you can waive rule after rule after rule for taking booze outside, these individuals can take their business outside too. Governor, you got to pay attention to this and fix it. Who's next?
Jim Jacobs.
Jim Jacobs next.
Yes, thank you, Assemblyman Patterson. Question, do we know what the original intent of this section was put in there for? Was there some specific reason? Okay, Fred's got a thumbs up. And then I'll have a follow-up after that, a politics question for Jim.
We got Fred up?
Hello? Okay, here I am. I think I'm good, right?
Yep.
Jim? Okay, good. So the funny thing is section 7317, which is what the state board cited, really is only in reference to people operating without a license. So it's saying, hey, you can't do barbering and cosmetology for pecuniary interest, for money, without having a license and doing it at a licensed establishment. I mean, I would read you the code section, but it's just a run-on sentence that none of you reporters would ever get away with your editors. And so, frankly, it's just the legal interpretation of some Department of Consumer Affairs attorney. So if you get two lawyers in a room, you'll have at least 4 contradictory opinions. So let's get the governor to bring the attorney general's lawyers into the room and let's let them hash it out. I think it's just an interpretation of a rather ambiguous code section that they could easily clarify if they wanted to give us a break.
Who's next? There was a follow-up from Jacobs. Hang on a second, we'll get to you, Jim.
There we go. But it's a political question, and feel free for anybody to jump in on this. It's not lost on me that the areas that many of these owners are from are represented by Democrats. I want to get the elephant out of the room. It seems that, Jim, you're hosting this. How difficult is it for you, Jim, to get a hold of the governor and say, hey, can you just fix this one little bit of code? And hearing Rosie and some of them talk about how they've had to try and call somebody to get attention and being told, no, go someplace else. How much does politics play a role in what's going on here?
Yeah, Jim, look, we are way, way past politics. And we are way, way past Democrat and Republican. We are down into the nitty-gritty of people's lives being shattered and hurt for ambiguous reasons and for unfair treatment. The bottom line here is the governor needs to understand that his order for outside means these individuals as well, and politics be damned, okay? Let's get on with understanding the grief that is happening to these individuals. That's number one. Number two, I hold an office in the California legislature. We have communication from my staff and from me to the individuals in the governor's office and in these bureaucracies that we communicate with regularly. When the ABC made its decision to waive the outdoor alcohol rules, I was a part of that discussion with the Restaurant Association, and we were part of that discussion with the health directors in the counties, and also we were keeping the governor's office informed. And in a few days after that, those restrictions were in fact raised. I'm not the only member of the legislature and not the only member of leaders in California that are calling on the governor to do this. Just yesterday, the mayor of San Diego did the very same thing that we are doing, saying to the governor and to this bureaucracy, for the sake of our people in San Diego, pay attention to this and you can lift this regulatory hurdle with one phone call. It's that easy. I think we are getting the governor's attention today. I think that others are getting the governor's attention. Let's hope that he is paying attention to it. And it's a very simple solution. Not everyone is going to be able to do it. Not everybody even wants to go out and do it necessarily. But for all of those who would like to try, they should be given the opportunity to say, yes, we'll try it, and let's try to recoup some kind of livelihood. That's what this is all about. This should not be a difficult decision for the governor. This should not be a political decision, and it shouldn't matter whether a Republican or a Democrat has asked him to intervene for these individuals. We're way past politics here. This is about real people's lives. No more? My screen is empty of questions. If you want to, let me take a look at this. No more questions. No more questions? All right, then we're gonna wrap it up. I'm gonna conclude this with this. Today, my office sent to the governor, and did we do it yesterday? We're doing it today. Great staff is behind me here. It's the secret that nobody knows. Today, the governor is going to receive in his office directly from me and signed by all of these individuals and a whole lot of others, asking the governor to waive this particular section and allow them the opportunity to decide if they wanted to go outside. It's as simple as that. And we think that if the governor pays attention, that he will be sympathetic about it for obvious reasons. He's done it for restaurants and for their bars. Let's do it for these individuals and their customers. Thanks everybody for being here. Thank you to Christina, Rosie, to our salon vendor. I think that's a cool, Jesse. Also to Fred, thank you. And to the members of the media, on behalf of these individuals and thousands of them, thank you for covering this. Thank you for telling the story. Thank you for putting into real person, real people context what's going on in our state. It is not as simple as just ordering and dictating from on high. You are hurting individuals all over the state of California. Governor, you can back away from the confusion and you can make some real clarity, and you can do it with a phone call. Please do it for these individuals and for their lives. They need to go outside if they choose and to earn a living like everybody else. We've got to stop discriminating against them directly, and this board needs to understand the consequences of this narrow and silly interpretation of a section that gives them supposedly the power to say no. It's time we say yes.
They want to know the other options.
No, what was it?
Christina, I missed your comment on what other options are. Can you please repeat?
For the salon owners?
Other options to do what?
For the salon.
Look, we've kept you a long time. What other options are these individuals being given? The option is very clear. If they cannot operate outside with the same safety precautions that everyone do so with the ability to at least recoup some business, they'll go broke. There are no other options for these individuals. These individuals, if they cannot see light at the end of this tunnel, they will be broke. Their personal dreams and sometimes lifelong dreams will be shattered, and their businesses may not come back. The governor of this state, I don't think, wants this. Certainly these individuals want the opportunity to make a free decision to go outside like everybody else. It's that simple. Thank you, everybody. We're done, and I appreciate y'all being here. And again, thank you for covering this, and I hope you can tell the story of these individuals. It's not a dangerous solution we're suggesting here. It is something that everybody else is doing. These individuals ought to be able to do it as well for the sake of their business, their livelihoods, and their customers. Thank you, everybody. You done?